Hello everybody, you are very welcome to Adapt Radio. My name is Dr. Claire O'Connell and today we are talking about how AI can help teachers to prepare for lessons.
From the Adapt Centre at Trinity College, this is Adapt Radio, presenting groundbreaking innovations one conversation at a time.
So there's been a big push to put up what we call learning intentions on the board at the start of the class. And the idea of this is they're the objectives of the lesson written in student-friendly language. If the students know the direction they're going in, then their learning should be better. So we're trying to take this principle of just sharing that learning intention and going, well, how much more can we actually do now with the use of AI, where teachers can go and step up their planning, but step down the amount of time it's taken them. And then we can share more with the student.
I suppose we've all heard about the perils of failing to prepare. And if you do that, you're preparing to fail. For teachers, though, the burden of preparing lessons has become enormous. And our podcast guest today is offering a solution, thanks to AI. I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Chris Byrne, who is the co-founder and CEO of MESO, which offers intelligent planning for teachers. Chris, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Claire.
So in a sense, I suppose we all know about the importance of preparation. I wouldn't jump into an interview without doing a bit of background, gathering information and thinking about what questions could work. And for teachers, preparing lessons is a key part of their work, but it is becoming disproportionately a huge part of what they do. Tell me more, what's going on here?
Yeah, Claire, it is becoming disproportionately more. Certainly in the past 20 or 30 years, we've seen this global shift in education towards personalised education and outcomes-based education. But there isn't the infrastructure that's necessary to provide teachers with the supports they need to make this kind of change in the workplace feasible. And the results have then created this kind of fragmented system between teachers and sometimes even teachers and students, and also teachers and their school leaders, and then school leaders and teachers with the departments of education. So, yeah, I said there, and I touched on two things probably that a lot of your listeners won't be familiar with, is the personalised education change and the outcomes-based education change. I think there's part of the problem that people aren't aware that there has been these big shifts in curriculum change over the past couple of decades. I was talking to one person recently, and I said, but sure, the curriculum hasn't changed. I go home and I see my kids doing the exact same things as I did when I was in school. I was like, yeah, but that's actually part of the problem, that we don't realise these things have changed. And we're investing like hundreds of millions, probably billions of euros across the world on trying to make these changes successful, to create new curriculums, but then to implement new curriculums, to upskill teachers in using them. And it's a really important thing that we actually look at the curriculums we have and try and bring them in. So the idea of personalised education, I think we're seeing this in general everywhere around us. I don't know about you, Claire, but we see people more and more going to YouTube. And what's the idea of going to YouTube? Sometimes I go there for my news because I'm like, I know what I want. If I know the known unknown, I know it might be something like, say, for instance, I want more information on Donald Trump's tariffs and how they're affecting the world. I don't want to wait for my news cycle to go into that particular segment. I can just go to YouTube and get personalised information on that. And we've always had this, that personalised is always better. You know, if we wanted to go out and me and you were going to a wedding and I wanted a suit and you wanted a dress or whatever, tailor-made, personalised for us is better. But the problem with it is it costs more money and it takes much more time. But we in education have said to teachers, you need to personalise the education system to the 30 or 40 students in your class without actually giving them the more time or that infrastructure that's required to do that. And along with that, we've seen more and more students who have additional needs in our class. And it's not that there's more of them, we're just becoming more aware of these, and people are getting more and more diagnoses. So now we're saying to teachers also, you need to know your students really, really well. You need to know the context they're coming from, what their learning needs are, and then learning needs don't even have to be A. And we all have different learning needs, things that we're good at and things that we're not good at. And this kind of coincided as well with this move. I said there was two things, the personalised education and also the outcomes-based education system. So this kind of personalised education came in tandem with the outcomes-based system. So we've seen countries globally move into an outcomes-based system. So what does that really mean? When me and you were in school, we probably studied topics. So you opened up a history book and you looked at the first chapter, and the teacher did the first chapter and went almost to the end of the book, maybe leaving out a few topics along the way. And that's the way we learned. Now what we're seeing is this personalised level of education doesn't suit a textbook where you can open the book. We've students from different parts of the world. We're living in a much more globalised world. We're looking at how do we tailor content to the students, and a book doesn't work where we just go to a topic. So they came up with this idea of having these broad statements of learning. And within the statements of learning also is what we call active verbs, or the verb where the action that the students should be doing. So it's not just about content, it's about the activity that the students is doing. It might be discuss, investigate, and a lot of these active verbs are based around what we call in education 21st century skills. So these 21st century skills came in a reaction to our globalized society and the developments we were seeing in society in general. So we were starting to see that the knowledge-based education system was not really preparing students for the future world, what they would work in. So it became a belief that we needed to start bringing in critical thinking skills, problem solving. I don't know about you, Claire, but when I did maths, I was often doing algebra questions and there'd be a quadratic equation. I know how to solve the quadratic equation, but I didn't have a clue how it was applied to like modern mathematics in the real world. Or I could be doing history. And I remember doing history, and the idea was to learn off all the information and then regurgitate it as quickly as we could in the exam. You'd look around an exam hall and like students
are cramps in their hand.
Yeah, I don't know if you did it, the same thing. And we had this system, and you look at that and you look at like, if we move that system, like, are we like really setting students up in that case to be modern historians, to critically think about history and to evaluate it? And then what's our assessment practices like? Have we got validity and reliability within the assessment practice? Because if we look at that system where we're writing a huge amount of essays in a very short amount of time, we're almost testing the students' ability to write quickly and remember facts, probably even more than their understanding of history. And we go to all the other subjects and we see the same thing. So can we bring in this modern education system where we set students up for the things they need in the workforce? And that presents a problem for a teacher, because a teacher has been traditionally based in knowledge. And now we're asking them to go and say to them, even like, would you do a podcast with the students? Because we want the students to discuss about it. We want to build up their communication skills. And teachers looking at it going,
where would I start?
You will be very good in that situation. I'd be terrible. I wouldn't have a clue where to start.
So they have all these preparations they have to do for all this personalised learning, for outcomes-based learning, etc., which sounds, even from how you're describing it there, that sounds overwhelming.
It really is overwhelming for teachers, and it's really hard. And even when we might get to this situation where teachers are said, okay, I'm going to move away and I'm going to try one of these things, like where we're going to do some group work in the class. The students are going to do maybe a research-based case study. Now we're like, have a very big classroom management problem for the teacher. Not a problem, but it's a different scenario. It's a different way of teaching. And also it creates a huge amount of onus on the teacher to develop the resources that they need. We know that the more and the better we plan something, and the better we have it structured, the better that's going to go in the class. Where if we don't have something planned very well, students lose attention and behavioural problems start. So what we're trying to look at is, how do we support the teacher outside the classroom to do all of these different assessment methods that they mightn't have been used to doing in the past? And not to just do them, but how then are we going to assign marks to it? Because we all live in this society. Like, I was a teacher years ago, and parents would always come in, what mark did my son get in an exam? where they're ranked. Oh, they got 96%. And did everyone else get 96%, or are they at the top? We have this obsession with knowing where we are, and teachers are really under that pressure as well to fulfill that. But if I get a student to do a documentary, as hard as it is for me as a teacher to set that up, how am I going to mark it and how am I going to assess it? So we're there, our tool is there to help the student prepare for that, help the teacher prepare their resources for that and plan it, but then to also give them guidance on assessing it.
And so this is MESO. So this is this tool that is there to augment teachers, to support them as they do this massive preparation, to hopefully do at least some of the heavy lifting on it. Tell me how it works. First of all, if I were a teacher who was facing this wall of preparation to do, and I or my school or whatever it was signed up to MESO, how would I use it?
Go in onto our platform and you create a profile as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our idea is the system will grow with you. And as we have more time to build in more tools, we will get more things online. But right now, you go in, you come into our system, you set up a profile. You might include some things about yourself as a teacher, like where you're located. Because if we're talking about personalised education, we're talking about also exposing students to their local community. So what's in their local community? So if I'm a geography teacher, I want to put the students in line with what rivers maybe are passing through my town or what mountain range is there. And then can I access the knowledge that's in the curriculum through them things? So it might ask if the teacher wants to put in them things so we can give this more personalised effect. Then the teacher can go into our system, put in the subjects that they're teaching, the year groups that they're teaching. And then when they come in, they can start planning their classes. So we give them what we call a unit plan, which is an entire plan of that topic. Then also lesson plans, which we can get them to have a plan of that particular class. But then we take them plans, and what we do with them then is we create our rubrics. Now, these are things that teachers usually find very heavy on the amount of time it takes them to create them. So we look at the plan, we look at what the students is doing, we get our system to pick out what we call a success criteria. What are the important things the student needs to know in this particular topic? What are we actually going to be testing them on? Is it a communication skill? Is it a problem solving skills? Is it a particular area of knowledge? Is it also value-based? Because we have values now that we're trying to bring into the modern education system. And it's very hard to assess values or to look for values in something. I think it's a really big challenge that not just teachers face. We face that in society. And then it will build the marking scheme for you. And then it'll build your assessments for you. What we're developing right now at the moment then, as well as that, is when we have that is not just I also do the guides, but also what resources do I need as a teacher? So for instance, I was talking to a teacher there recently and they did interactive role-playing game and they were kind of like, oh, what's this? And they were doing it on medieval times. So our system created the plan for the class, it created the assessment, but it also created the resources in a way that the students were given these character cards and the students then in class acted out different characters. So one might have been a monk, one might have been a king, one might have been a serf working on the farm. And then they were in the class and they were like, can we talk to each other or how do we talk to each other? Because they're learning about class systems and things that we don't have in modern society. So the students get a completely different kind of way of looking at a topic. And we can look at these curriculums and these different subject areas, and we can tailor our assessments and our what we call in education our pedagogical approaches, the approaches we have, how we teach to the particular curriculum and the particular students within the class.
And I suppose it sounds very complicated. Is this the kind of thing that could have been done with technology before AI, or is AI an enabler of this technology?
Yeah, AI really is the big enabler, Claire. It really is. I was looking at this and working on this problem for how we address the problem before AI, and there didn't seem to be a viable solution. What we could have done to solve the problem is and there was actually, interestingly that you asked this, there was actually a leaked government report in the UK where it said that 25% of teachers were thinking about quitting the education system because planning was becoming too big of a burden. And what the UK government in the leaked report was thinking about doing was reducing the number of class contact hours that a teacher has. Obviously, that's a huge physical burden to the entire country. But the reality is, even if you can afford it, do you have the people to also come in to teach them classes? And when you look at that, you don't really. In Ireland, when we brought in the new junior cycle, there was a deal done between the Department of Education and the trade unions where we would reduce every secondary junior cycle teacher's timetable by 40 minutes. And that costs, at the time, approximately 20 to 25 million a year to just reduce their timetable by 40 minutes. And it almost, I would say it almost had very little to no effect on the amount. It was almost a drop in the ocean for teachers and the amount of planning time they needed. So before AI, there wasn't a viable solution. I think sometimes we hear about AI and we hear about all the job losses it's going to create. I do think there's a very scary side of that. But then we look at systems where we have a limited resource of human capital. And sometimes these AI systems can really, really help us in them areas.
I'm presuming here that MESO is targeted really at teachers who are working with second level students. So that would be sort of the 12 to 18 age bracket. Are the students kind of aware of those things, like what are the outcomes, what are the rubrics, what's the marking schemes? Is it all transparent? Is that there to help the students as well?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. And it's something in education that we've been really working and pushing on, is to share this kind of rationale and learning experience with the student. So there's been a big push to put up what we call learning intentions on the board at the start of the class. And the idea of this is they're the objectives of the lesson written in student-friendly language. And the idea is that if the students know the direction they're going in, then their learning should be better. So we know how long the learning journey is going to last and what we're doing. The student can then understand why we're doing it and the rationale for doing it. That's what's called sometimes subjectification in education. Understanding that subjectification to why are we doing this and what are we doing is really important. And it's been hard at times to get teachers sometimes to even develop and bring these up and share them and how much time do I spend on them. Now with the system we have, it creates your learning intentions for you. And what we do also is we create a map in each lesson, the active verbs you want to learn as a student, how them active verbs map onto your assessments, and in what lessons you will be assessed in different ways. Because we don't always have high stakes assessment. We can be doing activities which support their learning of them things. So we're trying to take this principle of just sharing that learning intention and going, well, how much more can we actually do now with the use of AI, where teachers can go and step up their planning, but step down the amount of time it's taking them. And then we can share more with the student.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I suppose there are a lot of generative AI tools out there already that teachers could use, I suppose, to help sort of generate these plans for themselves and figure out what are the learning intentions and all that kind of stuff. How different are they to MESO, or why is MESO a better option than those? Because they're free.
Yeah, there's so many of them. The edtech market is growing at an incredible rate. I think in 2022 was valued at 200 and something million and now projected to grow probably towards the $1 trillion evaluation before the end of this decade. So we are seeing...
But even the general ones, I'm thinking the ChatGPTs of this world, yeah.
Yeah, and they're great help for a teacher. I would be saying to teachers, go use them. Why wouldn't you use them to help you plan your classes? Now, what our tool will do towards that tool is they're very good at general queries. Our tool is specifically for your curriculum. So there's even edtech tools as well, which are more general purpose tools. The more we can tailor a solution for a teacher and for a school, the better the outcomes and the better we believe the output is for you and the value is for you as a teacher or as a school. So if we're doing it in Ireland, we're centering it around the Irish education system. If we do it in another country, we have their education system online. So we've also taken a research first approach to this as well. So we've looked at educational research and we've seen, what do we need to build into this system? How do we build it with a research first approach? And then another critical part of that was looking at a human-centric approach to AI. So where is it important to have the human making decisions? And where is it important to have the AI making or doing things? So we looked at what teachers get caught up on. We spent a lot of time looking at what teachers really get caught up on, spending all their time doing, but that an AI can do very well. Or what is an AI not good at doing? Because there's this kind of illusion that AI is incredibly brilliant at everything. And I don't think till we hit AGI, that is absolutely not true. Sometimes LLMs or generative AI is not the answer to the solution. It's not about, like, we took an approach where it's not about throwing technology at something. We first started with the problem and looked at the problem and understood the problem. And then it's like, what technology, whether it's AI or a different type of technology, what technology is the best thing to use there? And some of the technology is just the teacher in the classroom. They've years of experience. They're really good. Like, for instance, one thing they're really good at that an LLM is really poor at is predicting how long a student will take to do a task. LLMs are terrible at understanding how long a 7-year-old is going to take towards a 16-year-old is going to take to do that task. So we have to design our system knowing what's the teacher really good at, but what's also AI really bad at or really poor at doing. And what's the time that we actually blend them two things together? We get the AI to make suggestions, but then the teacher to come in and select which of them suggestions they want.
You mentioned there you are a teacher. You have worked as a teacher yourself and a researcher. How has ADAPT sort of been with you on the journey towards developing MESO?
The ADAPT Centre is fantastic because I did, as you said, I came in as a teacher with very little technology background. And the ADAPT Centre is fantastic in that way. It's one of the leading, obviously, research centres in the world on human-centric, which we're really strong and believe that the AI is not there to replace the teacher, as I was saying, but there to support the teacher. So the ADAPT Centre having a research basis that's on exactly in that area has been a fantastic help in this. And for them to come in and help us understand the AI systems and, Claire, we're seeing just the immense velocity that AI has taken over the past 2-3 years. For us to have that research basis and experts within that area to help us even keep up with the emerging space. And I think you can do a startup and you can start a company and you can plan for right now and where you are now. But you have to plan in the long term. You have to plan in the 5-year space. So it's not just where education is and where the technology is right now. It's where is the technology going to be in 5 years? And what's that world going to look like? And where is it going to be in 10 years' time? And what's that world look like? And how do we plan across that? And the ADAPT Centre has been there helping research-based ideas to spin out into commercialization opportunities for a long time. So they have so much experience in this area.
Absolutely. And obviously Enterprise Ireland is part of that journey as well to bring MESO into the market, into the hands of teachers who need it. How far along are you in that process?
Yeah, so we are funded by Enterprise Ireland, and I honestly think we're very lucky in Ireland to have an organisation like Enterprise Ireland which will look at projects, not just mine, but loads of other ones that's in the ADAPT Centre and across Ireland, where in their universities and just other people that just come to them with ideas that has the potential to grow into global markets. We are 12 months, just past 12 months. We've just gone past the 12-month stage of a 18-month commercialisation funded project with Enterprise Ireland. So it's exciting times now at the moment.
Brilliant. So Chris, it sounds like an amazing piece of technology. If teachers and schools and educators want to find out more, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can reach out to us through the ADAPT Centre, or they can go onto our website at mesolab.ai, and they can get in contact with us from there. So yeah, we're always really looking for really innovative teachers. We're also trying to expand, Claire, to other curriculums, and we're looking for talented people within that area, especially with knowledges of curriculums outside of the Irish context. And also, if it's groups of schools or school organisations, we're really interested in seeing how we can work with them, because we believe that, a one-stop solution for the whole world does not work, that these things need to be tailor-made to your specific context and your specific area. So we're really looking for schools or school bodies within that kind of domain or that kind of space that might be interested in us tailor-making this for them.
Well, Dr. Chris Byrne, co-founder of MESO, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, and we wish you all the best with it. And if you would like to find out more about research in this area at ADAPT, please do check out www.adaptcentre.ie. For now, though, from me, Dr. Claire O'Connell, Slán, and thanks for listening.
The Adapt Radio podcast is brought to you by the Adapt Centre at Trinity College, Dublin. Find out more about their extensive research work at adaptcentre.ie. Join us next time to hear about more groundbreaking innovations. To get new episodes automatically, just click the follow button on your player right now. The Adapt Radio podcast is produced by dustpod.io, with episodes monthly on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.